All right, we just watched the 4th episode of Girls, and the name of this episode was?
Deep Inside.
Deep Inside. And I thought it was a really great episode because it was a sharp contrast to episode 3, in my opinion. Episode 3, we saw a lot of maturity. Episode 4, we saw a lack of maturity, if you ask me. So basically, the episode was about Hannah finding out that her editor has just died. We don't know exactly how he died, but she did go on Gawker to find the details, and apparently...
Because she is a, what is it?
She's a mediaist.
Mediaist, thank you.
I love that. I can totally see a website starting with that name. And she just found out that he was found in the Hudson River. Again, we don't know the details. But the whole point of that episode was to show that Hannah doesn't know how to deal with the issue of death. She hasn't had anyone close to her die before, and she keeps saying over and over again in the episode that she doesn't really care. She's more concerned about her book and what will happen to her ebook now that her editor is gone.
What's interesting is I think this is one of the most thematic episodes they've ever done. Yes. It was almost like watching a Modern Family episode where all the threads are going in the same direction. So that everybody is dealing with death and stuff and that kind of thing in different ways. And I love the whole thing of Jessa discovering that the friend that she thought was dead was actually just ducking her.
And all the way, that whole arc played out very well. From the beginning, when Jessa has a very Jessa moment of asking Shoshanna how someone she knew died, all so that she could think about the person she knew who died.
Exactly.
And then immediately after just not have listened to the answer. Playing through all the way to the phone call. I thought that was well done in terms of we only hear one side of that phone call and the what. And then going to see her, which I also like the line, your cool-looking husband.
He was really cool looking.
It was amazing.
She vocalized something that all the viewers were thinking. So
there, multiple times in this episode were moments like that where I thought that's what I would think but not say, such as like, is it still safe to be in the building? You know, that one. I need to, you know, people are running out. But to stay on the Jessa thing, I thought that was fantastic. Jessa seems like the kind of person who would fake her own death to skip out on someone else,
right?
Just to do something that dramatic, and she would think of it as a beautiful exit somehow orchestrated by the Lord or something. I don't know. But for her to have that pulled on her puts her in that position of someone who's doing the abandonment.
And that they didn't even have to have the fake funeral because they knew that once they invited her, she wouldn't show up anyway.
It's amazing. It was too easy, too easy. I don't know if this is a flaw in my character, but I keep trying to use Girls as like an example of social phenomenon, right? So one argument that people always like to make about millennials, and keep in mind I fall under that category, is that we're all very self-absorbed. And I think that this episode really pushed that stereotype. Because Shoshanna, as she's explaining the one friend that she knew that died, she was like, yeah, you know, she died, it sucked, but I really liked being the leader of that group, so it was kind of good that she was gone. Like, I'm paraphrasing.
More of a fivesome than a sixsome.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh my God, this is so terrible. Do people really think this way? But I don't know.
So here's the thing about Girls, and it's at times hyper realistic.
Yes. And
then at other times it's this hyper reality. You know, it's extremely spot on. This is exactly how how a person in a millennial will respond to this situation. And at other times, it's extremely exaggerated.
Yes.
And I think the show goes in and out. But you know, I think the writers will have a really great line that is a satirical line, and they'll work it in right after a line that was exactly as a human in that situation would experience it. And I think that what they do, it creates something that's very unique to her voice and how.
I think that's why people a lot of times have a problem with this show, is because they get lulled into thinking that it is naturalist or sort of semi-documentary or whatever, and then it gets outrageous and exaggerated. But at the same time, the show is never signing off on any of this behavior, you know, which I think is the mistake that people make. It's the Wolf of Wall Street argument. Oh, how can you show these people? They're so terrible. I hate these characters. It's like, well, you're not supposed to think that everything they do is awesome. The people writing them don't think everything they do is awesome.
Right.
You know?
And where is that line? I think that line, well, it's a very uninteresting episode if Hannah does what everyone in that situation does. Everyone in that situation would think, oh my gosh, this guy is dead, that's so sad.
Right.
Or
but
even I have to at least fake concern.
Right,
you know?
right. Exactly. And I feel terrible that there's this, and I think there's a lot more self-loathing in a character like that. I feel terrible that there is this thought in my head that was instantly what's happening with my ebook.
Right, exactly.
But that's not a very interesting episode, so I think you're allowed to, with the fact that it's a little over the top a lot, frequently, that you're allowed to have that play out in a way that's not realistic.
So we also saw this really fascinating clash between Adam and Hannah, because Adam really wanted to feel something. He seems to be almost hyper emotional, which is, I don't know, there's something really refreshing about that, because typically when you watch television shows, it's the woman who's hyper emotional and the guy is the one who's completely numb to feeling anything. And he was just kind of outraged at how the first thing she was concerned about was her book and whether or not her ebook is ever going to get published now that her editor is dead. So I really like that. And I also like the moment where Adam's sister made Hannah seem like she's the crazy one, right? Because Adam's sister is supposed to be insane, and she just seemed completely sane in this one scene where they're, lying down in a, what was it, a cemetery? And she's trying to get Hannah to feel something, and finally Hannah feels a little bit, and it turns out that, the story was made up.
Which leads us to the really shocking ending, I think, of this episode, where she then spins that same yarn to Adam, and it's like, what is going on here?
From
I mean,
a viewer's perspective, very strange. But you were going to continue.
Well, no, you're thinking like, oh my, what is she doing? Why is she doing this? He can so easily bust her on this if the sister brings up this anecdote of the afternoon. Like, what is going through Hannah's head at this moment, and why? Clearly she's trying to fake some feelings so that Adam will get off her back about not having been more, responding to what's going on, but. In this way that's really, it was almost terrifying. Like, oh shit, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stop it, stop it, stop it, Well,
Hannah's afraid that Adam's going to leave her once he discovers who she really is. Remember, she said that to his sister at the cemetery. So I think that she's obviously trying very, very hard to be someone who she's not. And I think she's probably going to get caught.
I say she's not trying hard to cover her tracks.
She's not. She's not.
She's the crazy sister. The crazy sister is the kind of person who would use that story on multiple people.
Sure.
Being smart enough to realize that you can't use it twice on the same person, but why not trot it out every now and then? Yeah. Watching that part of the show, though, at the end, I had so many thoughts. It's either there's so many moments that wait, is this what they're doing now? Is this what they're intentionally trying to execute, or is this me reading too much into it? Especially is Hannah or is Lena Dunham now trying to have her dramatic moment as an actress? Is what I kept thinking, and is she real? Is it really resonating with her, all these emotions? Is she trying to bridge that gap because this is really how she feels? But no, at the end, I liked the decision, and it's something as I watch the show, I know it's in its third season, but I still don't know as if they'll use any of what happened in this episode next time.
Right, that's true. And also, I knew that Hannah's life was somehow going to implode. I didn't know exactly how it was going to happen, but everything was looking on the up and up for her, and now things
that can't last.
Yeah, things are changing, things are changing. I was really excited to see Marnie exercising in this episode, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but the reason why I say that is because it seemed like she was finally doing something productive.
Right, getting out of her rut,
Getting out of her rut, go do something for yourself, get the endorphins going. And then, she got really ballsy and she decided to quit her job after she noticed that her, manager was sitting there watching that really embarrassing music video that she made.
Because there are fancy people that want to work with her.
Right, she's so entitled and unbearable sometimes, but I don't know, I find myself rooting for her.
I don't know, she did have crazy workout face, and I think that's what they were trying to communicate. The pull-ups, not this thing. This is the part where it's just a little over the top.
Endorphins
you don't do that after a run? I always do that.
I do that when I wake up.
If I ever run, I'll let you know what I do. So I think there's definitely this was very much of a piece with these characters as we know them, and also setting us up for even more sort of craziness from them to come.
Yep.
No question. All right, cool. Well, thank you for joining us, and come back next week.